Alright, so today we're taking a look forward at 2024 and beyond in video games. Before we get into the rest of the video, I'd like to mention my Steam game, The Silicon Shadow. Use your glide boots to slide and shoot through killer robots, conquer platforming challenges, and explore the dark atmosphere of a steampunk, retro-futuristic space station. Fight the shadows within the depths of space, and uncover the truth of its downfall in this noir movement shooter. Also, I want as much feedback as possible. Feel free to do so in the Steam Community Hub or wherever else. Unfortunately, we're starting out with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I really love the Rocksteady Arkham games, and I really wanted it to turn out well. Although it looks like a lot of the leads weren't working on this game, but I still would have really wanted to see a lot more from the Arkhamverse. And also, like, a live service game isn't inherently bad. The problem is that 99% of them are, and this doesn't look like it's bucking the trend. I don't even care that much about the colorful designs and over UI, but from what I've heard about the story, it just doesn't sound like it's going in a relevant direction for what I want to see out of the Arkhamverse. It kind of seems all over the place, to be honest. And it was already revealed. There's a whole multiverse thing that's gonna be in here. You know, it's kind of just would have rather see either more Batman or focus on another Justice League member. But this game seems to be crumbling down around itself, and the people who've played it seem to not like it, so it's kind of a shame. And probably the worst part about it is that WB wants to lean in more into live service, which ironically isn't chasing money, even though live services, usually don't make money. They usually lose a ton of money. It's just a dumb idea, And the problem is that even if this was successful, that'd probably just make them want to double down on live service stuff. They'd be lucky enough for them to hit gold once. It's just a dumb idea that's not going to result in anything good for anyone. Anyway, so I hope that eventually WB brings us something like Arkham and it works out. So next, moving on, we have the Atlas Trials, which has been out in early access, but I haven't played because I want to play the game when it's all out. And from what I've heard, it seems pretty good. And it's just a solid co-op horror thing. That seems pretty fun. Next we have Avowed. Obsidian does Elder Scrolls. Sounds, just a really good premise. It looks like they have good weapon variety and class building and such. Honestly, it's just a really solid premise that, hopefully turns out good. Outer Worlds was good. Hope this is good too. Next we have Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And from what's in the trailer, this really looks like a really good game that's going to capture the spirit of Indiana Jones. It reminds me a lot of the old Indiana Jones games like Emperor's Tomb, but I'm going to put some caution behind that optimism, and I know they're not inherently linked. But the last indie project didn't turn out so well with Dial Destiny, so I'm going to put a lot of caution behind my optimism, but I really do hope it's going to capture the feel of the old indie games. Next we have Star Wars Outlaws, which I'm actually a bit more optimistic than other people on this. Now, obviously, it's an Ubisoft game, and it does look like it's going to probably have a lot of the Ubisoftisms, like boring open worlds with just littered with a bunch of collectibles and such, and some fellow kids protagonists. But I think this has some things that the people aren't really taking into account, is that a lot of times the first couple of games in a series are typically better. It's usually a bit before they milk whatever formula a series is doing. And number two, and more importantly, I think is that I don't really think there's been a fully open world Star Wars game pretty well ever. Jedi Survivor is mostly open world, but still fairly linear. But also, this has been the first Scoundrel game in a while, but also we haven't really got a non-Jedi focused thing and a story focused game in a while. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of potential in this game, even though we'll probably have a lot of the typical Ubisoft stuff. Next we have Marathon, Bungie's next game, although Bungie seems to be kind of in chaos, but the premise of this game doesn't seem too bad. The trailer looked pretty cool. I hope it turns out, despite all the sort of like chaos it sounds like it's happening at Bungie Studios. Next we have Toxic Commandos, which kind of, to be honest, looks like a bit of a generic zombie shooters, but it does have John Carpenter's name attached to it, so I'm hoping there's something more to it. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Next we have Phantom Blade Zero, which looks like it has a lot of cool cinematic gameplay stuff with a very stylish action, but I don't know how true that's going to be yet, so I guess we'll have to see in a while. Next we have Clockwork Revolution, which seems to be like a Bioshock style game, but in a late 1800s industrial revolution setting, and there's also a time travel element. There's a lot of potential there, but we'll have to see how things turn out. Next we have Blade Runner 2023 Labyrinth. To be honest, I'm just excited that there's a new Blade Runner game, because we haven't really seen much from this. I don't even know what the mechanical genre of the game is. Is it a shooter? Is it a mystery game? Is it a platformer? Who knows? But I hope it turns out well, whatever it is. Next we have Marvel's Blade. Now this is going to be made by Arcane, but Arcane Lion. And hopefully Bethesda's learned from Redfall and won't mess with their stuff again. And we'll actually get a good Blade game. And the trailer seems to capture the character of Blade, and hopefully it's good and actually stars Blade, unlike the new movie was apparently going to be before Marshall Ali got mad or whatever. I don't know the full story on that. Anyway, hope this is good. Next we have OD, which is Hideo Kojima's next video game, but it's also a movie, but it's also a new form of media. That's a direct quote. So this trailer does not have very much, as like screaming people, and there's like some sort of implied robot in the background or whatever, and there's also a big giant trail of clues and stuff, and this is seemingly gonna be related to what he wanted to do with PT, which everyone loved, and I hope it does live up to it, especially considering there's a lot of mixed reviews on Death Stranding. I hope this delivers on a very good original horror experience. Also, Jordan Peele's involved somehow, so yet again another don't know much about it, but hoping it's good. Next we have Jurassic Park Survival. This seems to be like a horror version of Jurassic Park, set between 1 and 2, which I've only seen the first movie, and hopefully it's going to be like RoboCop Robo City, where it captures the feel of the movie really well, and I just hope it's a good adaptation. Next we have Assassin's Creed Codename Red. Now there wasn't a new trailer on this, but there is being a lot of leaked details. Apparently the game's now being inspired by Elden Ring, which at least Ubisoft is getting new stuff to rip off. But Mirage was a step in the right direction, and maybe this will be better, even though it does sound like it's still an RPG, which I really haven't liked the last two RPGs, but I really hope this turns things around, and maybe it'll be more like the first 2/3 of Origins. Hopefully, there just sounds like there's some interesting stuff. They're sort of doing another dual protagonist ship with a ninja lady and a guy inspired by the African guy who became a samurai. Or like they have him, he's like the warrior and she's like the stealth lady. And that sounds like an interesting way to do things. There's also apparently a lot of new stealth mechanics. And some stuff inspired from Splinter Cell, like shooting out lights and going prone. From what I've heard, there's a lot of potential, but the past RPGs are really making me cautious, and I'll definitely wait for some reviews on this one. Next we have GTA 6, the long awaited sequel to GTA 5. That looks fairly good. They haven't shown too much. Got like an interesting thing with the characters being like Bonnie and Clyde. They're sort of digging into the Florida Man vibes of Florida, and it looks very nice. Let's just hope the wait doesn't end in catastrophe like it does a lot of the time. And lastly, I want to mention that there was no real big information on this last one. It was just like a sort of Easter egg that seemed to really imply something. And then there was a very huge hubbub about it, and you might know by now that I'm talking about Titanfall 3. I would really love to see sometime ever. And it sounded like they had a cool thing with like this canceled Apex spinoff, and someone described it as John Wick meets Tony Hawk, which sounds freaking excellent. And hopefully maybe that was like canceled to like turn it into Titanfall 3. Just really want more Titanfall. At this point I almost take like a remake of Titanfall 2 or something. So that's it for a look forward at 2024 and beyond. Thank you to anyone who likes, comments, or subscribes. That's it.